OpenAI has finally released GPT 5.6 to compete with Fable 5, released by Anthropic a few weeks ago. The only problem is we can't use either of these models yet, but hopefully very soon. So in this video, I'm going to walk through everything we know about the new GPT 5.6 model. It's actually not just one model, it's three models. It's Sol, Terra, and Luna, and there are big differences between each of those models. I'm going to talk through what we know about the quality of the models, what people are saying who do have access to it, and when we might get to be able to use it ourselves. So let's jump in here with this tweet from Sam Altman. So what he shared is Sol is the top model on GPT 5.6. It's a significant step forward, but it's the same price as GPT 5.5. They're also launching in the same family, Terra, which is 5.5 level performance at half the price. And then there's Luna, which is less expensive than Terra, but less capable than 5.5. It's supposed to be more for summarization or easier tasks, but it's still going to be better than a lot of other models in the past. But at the request of the US government, it's launching today in limited preview instead of the open access launch they were planning on, and they're working with the government to get general availability out as fast as they can. Sam goes on to say, I think it's quite reasonable to roll out models, especially as they reach significant new levels of capability. It fits with their long-held strategy of iterative deployment, but this isn't quite the process that we think is optimal. And they want to work with the government to get to a transparent, reliable process for early access. So this is kind of giving us a sense of maybe in the future, this is unfortunately just the way it's going to be. The general public is likely not going to get access right away to new models. It's going to go out to groups of companies or specific people for testing. And hopefully we're going to have a framework where we can actually get these models as soon as possible. So I hope we can get them as soon as possible. Sam goes on to say they're going to work as quickly as they can to get the model in our hands. And there's a few other interesting things in their replies, which I'm going to talk about. But yeah, that's kind of the headline is the GPT 5.6 is technically released, but it's not really released because we can't use it yet. So it's kind of a weird middle ground, and I hope we're going to be able to use it as soon as possible. A few really interesting things that they shared. They're going to be releasing a version of this model, a 5.6 Sol in July, that goes up to 750 tokens per second, which is incredibly fast for getting results, which is insane. And this is going to be specifically on Cerebras hardware. And that is actually a company that went public recently. And if they have specific chips, which are specifically for inference as opposed to training, from my understanding, and it's kind of built for inference and really fast inference. I'm curious how much they're going to charge for that, because that's crazy. So just to give you a sense, is that speed is 15 times faster than GPT 5.5. So that will be crazy. I'm excited to try that out, hopefully in July. I think this is an interesting reply from Sam. Someone asked for some clarification around the tension between AI companies asking for regulation, but then saying it's bad news when there is regulation. So the reply that Sam says is actually, I think, a required preview period for extended red teaming is not a bad idea, but he doesn't like the idea of the government picking the customers. So he would like to pick the customers, I guess, and have the power of who's going to be testing it. I'm curious, maybe they'll come up with some framework where there's just going to be an agreed upon list of companies, like the top hyperscalers, for example, that are testing these new models before they get released. It is interesting because whoever has access to these new models first, if it's like a month of access, they're going to have an advantage over everyone else who doesn't have access. And I guess that's already the case. Like OpenAI and Anthropic are probably 2 generations ahead and using the best possible models for building internally. And they do have an advantage, but are we going to start seeing other companies consistently having an advantage before everyone else gets it? So yeah, just interesting how that all works. Question about what inspired the name. So it's just in terms of model sizes. So Sol is the biggest, Terra, planet, is the middle, and Luna, moon, is the smaller in terms of model sizes. So Sol is the largest, most powerful model. So those are the replies that we got from Sam Altman. But I want to jump into what OpenAI is saying about the models. So if we jump into their official statements about what they're saying, first we have some capability benchmarks. Now, benchmarks are not always perfect, and you really need to use it in the real world. But just from the benchmarks, it's saying 5.6 Sol actually is performing better than Mythos and significantly better than Fable. So Fable is the Anthropic model that is released. Mythos is the model that is not released publicly. It's like the unrestrained model, and Fable is supposed to be like the locked down model compared to Mythos. So Sol is supposed to be even better than that. Then there's Ultra, which is even better. And then even Terra, which is supposed to be similar to 5.5, is technically benchmarking the same as Fable. And even 5.5 is technically benchmarking like just 1% below Fable. But I think anyone who's used Fable agrees that it's a lot better than 5.5. So I think that, of course, benchmarks are just one metric. And I think that's why people want to actually use 5.6. So we can actually try it out for ourselves. So OpenAI goes on to say 5.6 is the most capable model yet for cybersecurity. And this is I think just a very interesting thing where, yes, these models may be dangerous in the fact that hackers can use them, but at the same time, they are really good at cybersecurity and can help prevent hackers from getting in. So both are kind of true at the same time. And they kind of talk about this a little bit. So as the model becomes more capable, they're designing safeguards to hold up to real world adversarial pressure. So basically what that means is preventing hacking or using it for adversarial reasons, making prohibited offensive activity more difficult while, making it useful for finding and fixing vulnerabilities. And it's saying here, it's better at helping people fix those vulnerabilities than carrying out the attacks. And that's what we want our models to be doing. And that's what they're saying 5.6 Sol is best at. So it's trained to refuse prohibited cyber assistance, etc. They're saying no single safeguard is sufficient, though. And they have layered safeguards and doing the best that they can. Of course, I think no company can ever promise it's going to be 100% effective, but they're doing everything that they can. And that's what they say is that's what part of the preview is designed to test. They want to have companies testing it and seeing if the safeguards really do constrain the misuse, and also whether legitimate users can complete normal work reliably and efficiently. So it's kind of like a balance of making sure they're preventing bad use, but not preventing the model from working on legitimate use cases, especially legitimate vulnerability fixes. So Sol is the same price as 5.5 currently. Terra is going to be half the price of 5.5 currently, but similar capabilities, and Luna is significantly less expensive. And they're saying it also introduces more predictable prompt hashing, which can save money as well. And as I mentioned before, they're launching it on Cerebras at 750 tokens per second, which is actually insane. I'm really excited to see that. Access will be initially limited to select customers as we expand capacity. And this is where it's just interesting how the intelligence is starting to be constrained. And this is the one thing that is challenging about AI and thinking about the future is are the fastest models, are the strongest models going to be limited to a select number of people or customers or companies, giving those companies an advantage over everyone else who doesn't have access to this? So will this split become, on the one hand, you could see how this divide could become larger, but on the other hand, as open source models become stronger and stronger, maybe that divide decreases. So there's kind of two sides to how that might play out over time. So that's everything that you need to know about GPT 5.6. It's kind of released. It's released in a preview, but only very specific people have access to it. Hopefully it's going to be released publicly as soon as possible. I also hope that Fable 5 is released as soon as possible. Maybe by the time this video is released, Fable will be back. It seems like it's starting to be tested again in companies, and I've seen reports that next week or within the next week, it's going to be released again. So hopefully it is. And then we'll really be able to compare Fable versus GPT 5.6. So subscribe to our YouTube channel. We'll do a full comparison of 5.6 versus Fable once we can do that and it's public. Click the link in our description to subscribe to our free 2-minute brief for AI builders. I read it every single morning, and this is what's going to keep you updated on when these models are publicly available. And also updates on tools like Codex, OpenAI, Lovable, all of the most popular AI tools that you would want to stay up to date on. So click the link in the description to subscribe for free. If you like this video, I know you're going to love reading this newsletter. And leave a comment below to let me know what you think of this video. It's a little bit different than our typical videos, so let me know what you think, and I can do more of it in the future or less if it's not something that you enjoyed. Thanks for watching. We'll see you in the next video.